Hi, I'm really excited to be here formally and to welcome you to the first BIPOC teen poetry reading. So by creating this, I want to challenge tokenization and provide a safe space for fellow emerging writers. A little bit about me. My name is Gaia Rajan, and I am a rising junior from Andover, Massachusetts. My poems have been featured in Mineral Lit, Hobart, Glass Poetry, and elsewhere. I am a 2020 Adroit Mentorship Program mentee. Shout out to all my fellow mentees and alums out there. And my chapbook is shortlisted at Glass Poetry. I am so excited to be here. So today we have 8 super talented writers here with recent work. A couple housekeeping things before we can start. So first, please keep yourself muted while readings are happening and write all comments in the chat box, like if you're gonna compliment an author or talk about a specific phrase or word or whatever. This event will be recorded and I'll be posting it either on YouTube or on my personal Twitter after the event. I'll also be introducing each reader with a bio prior to the reading. Readers, please share the poems on your screen as you read them, just for accessibility purposes. Also feel free to drop your social media handles in the chat box as you go. Our first reader is Vivien Song. Vivien is a student at Amador Valley High School in Pleasanton, California. She has been recognized by the National Young Arts Foundation, National Poetry Quarterly, and Hollins University. Her work is published or forthcoming in The Margins, Les Ephemeres Review, and Mineral Lit, among others. Vivien likes long, aimless walks and overnight oats. Let's welcome Vivien to read.
I'm super excited to be here reading. I'll be reading 3 poems, and let me share my screen.
Yeah.
I'll start. So this is called Seafront. This time I see it for real. White against the maddening surface of the sea. On the shore, all the coral overturned, and I beg the thrashing ocean to return me to foam before ash gourds erupt and the lighthouse is ablaze. If I close my eyes, I can still see the bodies before they curl into fog, your voice skimming the Pacific, fragile like the most diaphanous lace. Yes, I was told, the way of the universe. Ashes to algae to ashes. I listen for the slow thrum of the cardiograph machine, bury away hope in barrels. Imagine myself standing in the depths of the ocean's slackened jaw. Around me, the bass and the trout and the salmon in shades of gold. I want to say, look at this life. I beg until it's the kind of begging that strips prayer to its bones, until all that's left of the streetlights are fireflies circling sand, aimless and lonely like any lovely thing. The night is so cold. The seagulls always in the wrong country and the wrong sky. If only these quivering hands were big enough to hold you. Once, I ran barefoot across foam swelling into sprawls of grief, driftwood cast the way it came. Do you remember? You named me after the enchantress of a lake, and for years I've been asking the water for anything magical, for any sign that you're still watching the bloated horizon, the indelible moon. Oh grandfather, oh forever, tell me there is another spell. That is the end of the first poem, and then the second poem is called Azula in the Midst of Winter. These days, you approach the pond's surface like a dove bound to broken light. This is the final act in a palace of hollow moons, echoes of rainwater raining windows. You circle the courtyard holding a blade the way you have always wanted something warm enough to touch. How you reach for an endless ruin, the sky sharpening its teeth on lightning. Love is the skeleton of a lonely beast forgetting its mother's name. Before dawn, you ask to take back your hands, body shivering on a singed rooftop. This could be a metaphor for love. Lilies living, proof of your existence, sodden clumps of ash by morning. Instead, your silhouette slivered into a paler fire, a mother fleeing the jaws of a barren hunger. You are a hunter in the cruelest winter. 5 years ago, your mother left in a silence sweeter than cinder. Here are the birds buried. And finally, this is called Girl in 4 Acts, after Marwa Halal. Breathe, remember, breathe. The blood on your hands, the time you kissed the staircase walls, skin raw, nails shorn, You're so beautiful with your heart thrown onto the manicured floor. Broken ribs, your fists clench, unclench in the name of absolution, as if even that is a miracle. You swear you'll try to be better. Too much life. Breathe. Diazepam for one, a full course meal, and then you wake up still in a motel's shrunken arms, your neck next to bricks, and you. No truth here. Today you pry open the mouth of your corpse and count the pounds lost from celery stalks. A goddess holds you, says you're unbreakable. How easy to see the glow of the bathroom bowl or broth-hungry sorrow. Consume only the exposed horrors of your face and all you've ever touched. Your stomach swelled fat on naltrexone dust, gorgeous as a butcher's apron, and your flesh says casualty of war. You mean hulking body, what is left by lipstick tubes stained with sin, the night you heaved up salvation in a typhoon of bile. You gutted like a beached whale, the moon watching you sink into the touch of a man you want, you don't. You want to be the man wetting his teeth on stone, and not the fish splashing open on the dining table. You want to sketch a body double, swimming without chains. Now, 2 a.m, 3 p.m, Bluebeard's wives in a bomb bunker. Have you ever given birth to a creature drowning in the weight of its own skin? Their prayers chewed by the boxes in the basement. You're so sorry for this body and the empty music of the wind. Sorry you don't know much about heaven except for those who are sick. And that's the end. I'll stop screen sharing.
Just wow. Like, wow. The phrases, the form. I'm just so in love with your poetry forever, and what a fitting beginning. Yeah. Just no words for those poems. Okay, so next up we have Luisa. Luisa Peñaflor is the founder of the Upstate Youth Slam, a high school poetry slam competition in her hometown, and is the recipient of the Jan Bailey Poetry Prize, the Nancy Thorpe Poetry Prize, and first place in the Say Your Piece Poetry Slam. Luisa enjoys writing about horses, Buzz Aldrin, and dinosaurs. Let's welcome Luisa.
Thank you, Gaia. All right, let me share my screen. Can you all see it? Yeah?
Not yet.
There we go.
Yes.
All right. Okay, great. This first poem is called I Hate Horseflies. Have you ever seen a horsefly? Imagine a fly as a dinosaur, all scaly with spines down their back and sideways eyes and no slits like air vents. That's not what they really look like. But they're big and scary. When they fly around you, buzz, you feel dread like you're about to hear some very bad news. When they stick onto your horse, sometimes the horse will buck. Sometimes they'll bite on the base of your horse's tail, so you have to lean all the way back to hit them. They'll land on your back and bite through your shirt, and it hurts like a bird pecking would. Imagine this horsefly, and you're in the woods with Dad, and you're lost, and you've killed 20 of them. And they keep coming, and you're lost getting loster, riding around the edge of a leg that ends in a different state. And you're crying not because you're lost, but because your horse feels tired, even though you have no way of knowing. And you're not you, you're me. And when we go back and Dad won't talk to me, I cry again. I don't want you to pity me. I just want to talk about it. I couldn't kill a horsefly until a year ago, and I'm big. I'm old and strong and should have been able to kill a horsefly a long time ago. They're the size of my thumb, and my thumb is 1/1000th of me, so I could fight 999 horseflies and win, theoretically. But I'm still scared of horseflies, Dad. I know I've killed so many of them today, and I know my horse will not die in these woods. Still, all I can hear are the squeaks of my heavy saddle and the hiss of an imminent horsefly. All right, so that's my first piece. The second one is called Chupacabra. There was a chupacabra called Love, and he had 4 white hooves. Love smoked cigarettes and scoured for food with the stray dogs. In the streets of Mexico, Love slept in the slums. Love was chased by kids trying to pull at the white fur of its tail. Love prowled on the side of the highway and pounced on cicadas. Love lapped at water from littered plastic bottles. Love walked on his hind legs and drank beer from a fruit stand on the side of the road. Love lived with coyotes. Love hunted the goats from the farm at night. The goats had brown and black hooves. The farmer had a shotgun in a slaughterhouse. Love watched as the farmer took a baby goat in his arms up into the slaughterhouse. The farmer shot the goat and hung his body up on a hook. The goat was bright red, like when Love closed his eyes after staring at the sun. Love's mouth watered when the farmer ate goat soup. Love named the farmer Chupacabra. All right, and here's my last poem. This is a slam poem, so it's gonna be a little different. This is called How I Wish I Replied to a Cackle in Chicago. I was looking fine. Fresh 15 summer sun hair up, I was strutting streets, my Hispanicness, a neighborhood of tan skin and hairy knees. Who cares? I was with my friends. We were laughing and taking pictures, calling each other cute. Cheek kisses and teenage fun when a 40-something drunk man decides that I, an underage girl out with her friends, was the perfect target for his spit-spat comments. He looks at me and says, eyes glazing over me like I am meat, Viva Colombiana, and whistles. By now, I have decided that this man is not worth a single word that comes out of my mouth, but in this particular poem, the following happens. I rise up off the ground levitating, my skirt turning into tentacles, my shirt turning into wings. I am your worst nightmare. And I say, excuse me, sir. I would like to formally inform you that I am the epitome of youth and beauty. I am a goddess, and your words unleash years of anger and resentment onto your being. I can turn you into a spider or a rat. I can have you tortured beyond your worst fears here. Pick the guillotine or the Spanish donkey. It's your choice. I am a witch, a ghoul, a god. One look of my eyes will turn you to stone. I am the Medusa. I will be sending my personal pack of wolves after you. I am a black hole put here on the street, put here to suck up scum like you. You are everything the world is ashamed to be, and you will never look at another girl the same way you looked at me because I have popped out and chewed up your eyeballs like gumballs. You know, I can have you sent to Hades, where you will be punished with fruit you can never eat, water you can never drink. I will see to it personally that your liver is eaten by vultures every day. You have messed with a force that is the size of the sun. I am hellfire. I am a goddess in her true form. Avert your eyes and my body, it will burn you for looking. Right now, as I'm rising up from the dirty patch of earth you reside in, I will give you a warning to heed. My anger is beautiful like fireworks ricocheting in the sky, bright and powerful. My anger is an incoming meteor. My anger is a thunderstorm, a tsunami shaking and breaking. It's a tornado will snap you up whole like a Venus flytrap. My anger is more than you deserve to witness. Talk like you fear it. All right, that's it. Thank you. Let's see. Wait 1 second. Shoot. Stop it. No.
You're good. Do you want me to try and fix it?
I just don't know how to stop sharing the screen.
There you are.
There we go. Thank you.
Yeah. That voice, that repetition. I mean, I'm a fellow mentee with Luisa, and I'm so grateful, to be able to read her work.
Yeah.
Always so unique, so full of verve. Yeah, I'm just really grateful to have you here.
Thank you.
Our next reader is Amy Lee. She is a rising sophomore at Richmond Hill High School. Her work appears or is forthcoming in Sandpiper, Cathartic Lit, and the My World anthology. In addition to writing, she enjoys photography, playing piano, and procrastinating. And you can find her doing the latter on Instagram at Twinkie Pamphlet. I can put it in the chat. So yeah, let's welcome Amy.
Okay, I'm just gonna share my screen, I guess. All right. Yeah. Okay. Does that work? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. All right. Okay, so the first one I'm gonna read is Fragment Graph. Okay. Fit them together, wayward line fragments swaying from the tip of a point. Cut my nails, snip on the right and snip on the left, and two fragments adjoin create a vertex. Tell me to be perfect. Teach me how to cut to a single point instead of these scattered clippings leaping around me, broken from their mother, torn like a storm tears a ship's passengers from its deck. Torn like I was from my mother's womb, I chose an angle from the operating room and so did you, seemingly parallel, 1 degree off, so now we have met. So now merge time and tell me to get rid of thought. This endlessness has ended at an angle. Stroke my forehead to complicity with dagger's story, hold my slender fingers in your own, and cut them to a point, soft enough to kiss, sharp enough to kill. The second one, genetic failure. Forgetfulness runs in my family on legs of keratin stretched over efflorescent bone, calcium phosphate played with like putty in Faber's practiced hands, played with like emotion he brews into senselessness for my mother to swallow, cradles the sun in her belly, fiery warmth only on the tip of her tongue, skin I have been starving for, dieting on only fallen hair and fingernail clippings, stray keratin. Break me down like amylase cheddar starch and build me again like you always do, so remind me of this family's story. And forget again. Mother, do not forget me. I will feed you a spoonful of my skin and beg you. Remember, until you touch opaque ice. Third one, unrecognizing. Mother curls her tongue around pearly perfection and captures it before lost. Look, the moon sets in the west, casting your shadow into existence. Mother, teach me how to smile like you, deafening a room of poisoned cliché. Dream of being a separate sun, yet you still hold me under the haunting colors of starlight. Mother, why are you only silent when the sun is high, dreaming of a moon's fragment? Hold scissors to a promise of silk and smile. Eyes, brittle glass, and my only amnesty. More fun. American Promise. Fragmented story spools across my tongue, magically lit within, hooked on an anchor of dialogue, so sail me through this ocean and tell me of a hurricane bound in your bones. Break surface tension and let marrow spill across the ground like a shipwreck's wooden fragments spill through water. Tell me another white lie. The cotton clouds remain docile, afraid of thunderstorm. The Mayflower was a survival story, so promise that we are too. Fragile promise continuing to win me. So carry me through your mountains and watch as sunlight breaks through the clouds, shattering bone, diffracted in pearlescent dust, broken through mismade glass, so swallow cotton thread and hide the truth. This is not what I was promised. Deadly Serenity. You suffocate on the combustion of oxygen, trapped within incandescent alveoli. I grasp perfection and let it spool from my fingertips to cascade through your bloodstream. Pretend it is a kiss. Show me a confine of possibility. Remind me of deceived reflection remaining lonely. Remind me that words are waiting to be strained through a sieve. There is cradled truth in your palm, yet disheveled dreams take wonder's place as hunger gnaws through diaphragm. As we trade dignity for soon forgotten love and belated understanding, but the delusion of commodified love is enough to deny its existence. For example, exchange your name and I gift you a kiss. Purpose to master despair and fold it in your flesh, echo in your wake so you may sink unto me at the heart of this labyrinth. A macabre epoch approaches. It is ours, and yet we remain drunk on Uranus of feeling, bound by spending only eternity for a scorching piece of sun, bound by bare breath. If you should choke, I will stroke your throat closed for you. Okay, last one. Fabric Humanity. Mother, hold me within you. I trust your arms remain warm amongst the soil. After all, I was born from those very arms. Sallow skin, aching body, embolden me into existence once more to float amongst cotton fiber sky, suspended from perfect thought. Let sleep bleed from your wrinkled, fractured forehead and reflect on your mirror image. This moon illuminates your dark iris, yet not my soul, for the body prefers playing tricks to telling truths, but stay. Speak a story of tomorrow, claim it as your own. Remembrance of birth, remembrance of funeral grave shovel dirt, remind me of a silent death, and assure me that my body and soul are not simply one. Remembrance of your own picture frame, an airbrushed silence hanging between us, your portrait dangled from the same silk, threaded into a noose. Remembrance of nausea, sleep of silence, and speak of fabric humanity. Woven skin, satin-covered organs, and bury me 6 feet deep. Okay, that's it, I guess. Do I just stop sharing, I guess? Okay.
Just wow. Your sounds are always so gorgeous, and your phrases have a music all their own. I've been really grateful to get to know Amy over the past couple of weeks, and just wow. Just thank you for sharing your work with us. Our next reader is Leela. Leela Raj-Sankar is an Indian American freshman from Phoenix, Arizona. She enjoys drinking obscene amounts of coffee, researching her latest obsession, and making far too many Richard Seekin references. Her work has been published or is forthcoming in Per Happened, Expos Mag, and Stone of Madness Press, among others. Please join me in welcoming Leela.
Okay, hi. All right. Is it sharing?
Yeah.
Very cool. So my first one's called For Ahmad Arbery. When you died, you were wearing a white t-shirt and running shoes, your mother said. I still imagine crimson roses pouring from your chest instead of blood. I still imagine the white pickup truck forever stained scarlet, an eternal reminder that this country will never be able to get your flesh out from under its fingernails. It's the end of July. You died in February, but your name is still painted across every headline. I try not to think of the fact that there will be others, that we will forgotten by the time September or the conviction rolls around, whichever happens first. Look, the news anchor is staring at the camera and reading your life as if it is a statistic. Somewhere, your mother is remembering pouring dirt over your coffin. Somewhere, a black boy is being told not to run alone, to keep his head down, to be careful, be wary, because there's always someone who wants to hurt you. Are we stupid to believe this place could change just because it has Land of the Free in the title? Tell me, when is it time to give up hope? How many people have to die before we're allowed to be angry? How do I express a grief that says it shouldn't be there? No amount of outrage or poetry or metaphors for pain can bring you back to life, because you're not Lazarus, because this is reality, where in 2 weeks, the somber-eyed news anchor will be announcing another shooting, because we have no choice but to let it happen. I still imagine the bullet finding its way back into the gun. I still imagine you going home, cracking eggs in the kitchen for breakfast. I still imagine your mother, smiling without your ghost forever coiled around your shoulders. Once your feet pressed into bathroom tile as you sung off-key in the shower. Once your mother kissed your forehead and promised that what had happened to so many before would never happen to you. But this is America. Land of the free, home of the brave, where your fate was inescapable. They'll spit your names in courtrooms like the weapon that killed you. White attorney in a neatly pressed suit arguing the defense will throw flowers on your grave and pretend like that solves the problem. I still imagine you raising your bleeding wrist to the sky, Lady Liberty in the moment before your demise. I imagine you saying with your last breath, give me you're tired, you're poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. I will protect them all. I will remember and remember and remember. Okay, the next one is called Motel Bathroom Soliloquy. The summer you spent with your fingers braced against a grimy rest stop sink, eyes sunken and bloodshot under the fluorescent lights. The summer when you spent 40 midnights dreaming of your teeth falling out of your head and onto the tile. So it's the wreckage of an empire. So you don't call your mother anymore or go home for the holidays or look in the rearview mirror. So you're still imagining you're something you're not and pretending to be proud of it. Another day, another nightmare, another morning spent choked and half drowning at the bottom of the pool, another million years in which you kept running because pain makes a sound too loud to drown out, and so you did everything you could to escape to a room where all the walls said was you're alone now and you'll be alone always and no one can hear you screaming. But no one's following you anyway, so what does it matter if your mic's been cut, your hands that forget they are yours, braced against another sink. The tea kettle whistling in the background. Tomorrow you'll wear someone else's face. Tomorrow the billboards will say, are you awake yet? Are you awake yet? Are you awake yet? It's a lovely, predictable routine in which you hang all your jackets in the motel closet and take them down 3 days later. You have 1,000-foot races with time, but it always leaves you in the dust. The California sky. The endless miles of terrible sandwiches and almost deserted highways. How long before you run out of gas? Fear turns you to ash from the inside out, and hope knits you back together. You keep running, suffocating under too heavy memories, and trapped in a reality you can't outlast. A new town, new story, new pair of fuzzy dice sitting on the dashboard. The earth rides beneath your sneakers. The world tells you again and again, kid, you're going to fall off this tightrope, just wait and see. You put the coffee on to boil and remind yourself not to look down. Okay, this one's called Graduation Party. I think you must know that our hands are stitched on the wrong wrists, but you clutched your soda sticky fingertips to mine under the table anyways. Tonight is whiskey and nostalgia hour, where everyone older than us reminisces on the good times, the happy times, the ones we weren't around to see. They take the pieces of their memory and write a book that only makes sense if you read it backwards or inside out or redact half the lines. None of this happened, you whisper, knuckles tightening on my knee. The happiness only stays in our minds because we're too sick to remember anything else, because everyone watched the blood leak from our temples and said, it's just lipstick, it's just finger paint, it's just growing up. We see windows and think they're mirrors. We look nightmares in the eye and think they're premonitions. We shiver, we sigh, we make up new memories. Ones we won't say out loud, the worn out soles of your sneakers, the cracks in the pavement on your driveway. Another pause, another beat. A long drive down the highway, the windows down, your head out the window for a few glorious seconds before we shut ourselves in again, before you spilled your drink on my best dress and I didn't talk to you for a week. My hand grazes someone else's in the hallway and I think of a lifetime of touches I must have missed just to be here. We shiver. We sigh. We begin again, a different set of memories, different fingertips brushing against mine. I think you must know we all become our parents someday. Making up stories to tell around campfires while someone strums a guitar tunelessly. God, isn't getting older a horrifying thought experiment? Turning into someone you promised you'd never become, a nightmare where you drank too much and now you're dancing on a table, a nightmare where you drank too much and now you're curled on the floor, but all I can think is how did we end up here? Tomorrow is a gauzy pink Saturday where we eat cake for breakfast and pretend all our problems don't exist, pretend that we're not leaving the selves we knew behind. The flowers blossom and fall from the trees, and there's beauty in that, of course there is, but isn't there such pain also? Everything happens so quickly, and we have no choice but to move on, move forward, forget each new spring we convinced ourselves existed. When will I learn what to do with my hands? When will I learn what to do with the splintered light living somewhere in my chest? I'm young and I hate the headlines, and I hate the fact that my existence means that someone's kid is dead. I'm on fire, but that doesn't mean anything. Your fingers are still sticky after all these years, after all this time, but that doesn't mean anything either. All I want is to wake up one day and realize that everything will turn out okay. All I want is to wake up in a world where standing in the sun isn't just as terrifying as being in the dark. Look, I know I was stupid and I know I was wrong and I want to try again. It was a mistake. I'm sorry. I didn't know how lonely not caring would feel. I didn't know how lonely I'd feel, even with, especially with your hands in mine. It's another mirror that isn't a window where I see you in the garden. You laughing in the kitchen, you on your back under an endless blue sky. Another mirror that isn't a window that I keep hiding from, instead shaking 1,000 new Polaroids and realizing that none of this ever happened. We shared beds, we shared drinks and dinner and courage. We didn't share dreams, but that's a secret, not a story you tell over dessert. I reach for your half-drowned body and drag you to the shore with your arms around mine, your arms that have touched 1,000 other people, your arms that will soon fly away and shed the skin cells that once held me. The uncomfortable silence over a phone call. The memories of our fingers under the table, my unanswered prayers, the ones that say, don't let me grow up, don't let me leave, don't let me forget. I can see our future as clearly as I can see our past, which is to say not at all, and realize, of course, that I'm not ready for it to happen, that I'm still waiting to feel older, happier, more mature. Nothing changes, but everything changes, and I'll never be done trying to make sense of it. Mom, can I sleep in your bed tonight? Can I be your baby for just a little bit longer? I'm leaving tomorrow, but I'd rather feel homesick in the depths of your eyes and the shadow of the moon. I'm leaving tomorrow, but I don't know what that means. I'm leaving tomorrow, but all I want is for you to come back to me. for time to stop in its tracks, to hold your sweaty hands too tight and tell you all the nothings I was too afraid to dream out loud. Okay.
Just wow. I know I keep saying that, but like all of you astound me and I'm so grateful to be here. Leela's work just always pulses with strength and this gorgeous imagery and sense of pacing. And I was just absolutely blown away by her poetry when I first saw it on Expost. I'm so excited that she was able to read today. Okay. Our next reader is Timi Sanni, who is a coffee-loving poet, writer, literary enthusiast, and student of biochemistry. His works have appeared or are forthcoming in literary journals like The Writer's Space Africa, Rather Quiet, Nancy Green's Praxis Magazine, African Writers, Lullaby of Silence, and elsewhere. He writes to challenge stereotypes and enlighten the world. He is a Writers' Fellowship alumnus at Spring, and he won the 2020 Fitcher Review Short Story Contest. He was the runner-up for the Splendors of Dawn June 2020 Poetry and Short Story Contest, and he's the winner of the Writers for Humanity Poetry Contest in 2019. Find him on Twitter at Timi Sanni. I'm thrilled to welcome him now.
Do I begin? In search of nothing. I'm in an abyss. It's wide in black hole of grime and dirt and blood. I'm in search of the golden drachma. I'm in search of the half-eaten apple, my life. I'm in search of nothing. I'm in search of myself. I try to find light, but it chooses that time to fly deeper into the Tartarus of my soul. I fear. If it flies any further, I will need my broken parts in a furnace of raging fire. Yeah, I've asked within her. Even Cupid with show can die in this stench of rotting one-eyed mustard. But me here, I fight them every day. One little David against 1,000 Goliaths. I want to cry, but my eyes haven't seen rain in years. What's left of the dying herbs? My eyes is an arid land where even the cactus drinks its own saccharine thirst. I pray for an oasis, a miracle. I pray for love. But love is a chunk of apple in a sea of nightmares that found me once, but turned out to be the goddess of my darkest desires. My nemesis. I pray for light, but my tunnel seems to know no end. These candles have died like rows of valors, waiting their flags of flame to dark, raspy ends of death silence their fairy cries. I pray for rainbow. I pray for rain, for sunshine. I pray for the one, for those little things, butterflies in the pit of one stomach, or the chambers of one heart. I pray for life, for the golden fleas. I pray for the Johnson of glory. I pray for the cherubims of Jupiter. I pray for Saturn's ring. I pray for the most beautiful things here in these darker depths of murky waters where demons have nightmares too. Life's a monster, and his big hand threatens to crush me. I shout love, but Cupid shoots me an echo of my own voice. I say love in my dreams, but I wake up a child who has seen a vicious demon. My sorry mind sees not love, but under nightmare. The golden drachma coins from the mouth of Olympus is a currency for gods. But the golden drachma, that glittering mirage flies in this maelstrom of energized quantum non-entities. Give me my reasoning. I'm dying in the hands of fallacy. They say no matter where you are, you can see the sky or the head, you can feel water. And if you can't, you can certainly taste the air. They say even when you maroon on a highland with none but fear, hopelessness and despair, the air still tastes of hope and the water of healing. They say plant a seed of faith in the head and blossom into fairy passion, good old ambrosia, honeyed nectar, food of the gods. They say, look up at the sky, at the clouds that have covered the distant constellations. They are aligned to spell victory. They say, you might see a center, or a sage, or an island, but certainly not nothing. What about fire? That they say, you can't see or taste, but lives in the inner core of your being, where your mind is scared to venture. Take a dive into the sea of infinite screams, they say. You find your music beneath the frenzied wave of smoky nights. You find your dreams in the bellies of your fears, they say. These fears do not kill them, for their ghosts will forever haunt your soul. Befriend them, feed them hope and love and life's longing, for they only eat from baskets of light and drink from the ocean of disasters. They'll reach out good things. They'll spill your dreams out among all their rotting ruins. And these dreams, when found by the one you, shine like the seventh sun, brighter the glow that leaves amongst dust, that sing the cobwebs of your throbbing hearts. That's what they say. These wise old men whose eyes have seen the dusk of life. But these words feel to me like the sound of laughter to a man who has known sorrow since the mushy walls of his mother's womb. Remember, I'm just a lost soul being consumed by habits, and habits bigger than my whole world. Sinking, falling, failing, dying. Is it time yet? I pray for mercy. I pray for God's big hand. I pray for hope. I yes to fly somewhere above. I pray for the word that gave life to the universe. Be. I.
Hi. That ending, just wow. The urgency, intensity, and pace of his poetry and his delivery are just so powerful. And I'm so happy that Timi was able to read today. And just wow, I know he's definitely a poet to watch, and I'm so excited to have been introduced to his work. Our next poet is Zain Alizai. Special shout out. It's his birthday today, and I'm beyond excited to have him here. So yeah, let's welcome him to read. Zain is a 19-year-old Pakistani poet whose work has appeared in places like Feral, Honey and Lime magazine, Counterclock magazine, and Ghost Heart Literary Journal, among other places. His poems have also been a part of 2 Indian anthologies, Fledglings, and 4. He is a 2020 alum of the Dwight Summer Mentorship Program for Poetry. Happy birthday and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Am I audible? Is there any issue in the voice? Do let me know. Let me just share the screen. Okay. There we go. Is it okay? Is it visible?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. The first poem is called If I Am to Be Entirely Sure of Something, Let It Be the Idea That Kindness Breeds Love. I actually wrote this poem last night, and like this is a poem the inspiration was Hanif Abdurraqib, and I'm a big fan of him, and this is just basically this is a personal poem as well as something that means a lot to me, and I thought that it was worth sharing it here. Okay, so here we go. If I am to be entirely sure of something, let it be the idea that kindness breeds love. That last summer when I jumped the fence near the curve of a long winding bend and ran headfirst into the road, I could only hear an Aunt Sexton verse play again and again in my head like a cacophony. I was not tired, I was unloved, which is to say that kindness was an alien concept. Whether you are pretty or not, I outlive you, I live you, and yet there are so many reasons to hang starlight on the door. A murmuring ghost flicking all burning candles bare. So much of a room built on a hum, which is to say that the only thing I felt in my heart was smoke. It is true, I killed a bird, and I did not bury it. I woke up and mistook the morning for the apocalypse in the heart of the winter. I slept on the roots of a banyan tree. There was no difference between a burn and a blight and a bruise. How to be so nimble that you eat yourself was a question to every answer. Memories misshapen, made to devour, turning up the volume so high that the room starts to float, saying, listen, language into me, let me snake into your throat and fill it with a garland of petunias. What can you make of a future if you can't see it? In a few hours the dawn will break again, and you will be nothing more than a mystery. Listen, crawl back into your body. When the wave hits, your chest will sink you to the depths anyway. So instead of stitching my face on the corners, I let the threads limp unfinished on the side of my cheek. I watched a live opera performance and sobbed when every crescendo hit. If I am to be entirely sure of something, let it be the idea that kindness breeds love, that when a body asks to be held, you have to be gentle enough to not let all the bones break. Another night, I went to bed with no eyes. 2 grenades hung like ciphers in my periphery. Inside a dream, I drank from the hands of mercy and saw my reflection bled into a red organza. A baptism turned into a feast of wood and all the assortments. And I was asked to close my eyes. A wish sauntered on the tip of my neck, clambered onto a cavity, and demanded that it be heard. So when I tell you that I'm not sure whether to wake up or not, I only need you to be kind enough. So there's another poem. And this, I just wanted to give a little short overview to this. It is basically about this festival, this Muslim Islamic festival known as Eid al-Adha. It's just rather paint personal and of course the political, and it's just an intermixing of all three, and so like it's just an amalgam of sorts. Okay, so history as a home and then no home. Green cardamom, sweet sting back, sticky like a firefly, mama carefully orchestrating introduction of salt. Knobby hands were sending back into the arms, all juice glued to the limbs but not rotten. Now hands and souls brightly henna, then piping hot tea in dowry china or a wooden ladle spinning in foaming garlic ghee, moving like a kaleidoscope through the drawing room. Magic made by mama's hands like Medusa, but for 3 hours and a growing arthritis, but a permanent smile. Festoons frolicking and facing the luncheon, greeted by the lemongrass, by the sage smoke rinsing every face, by milk custard coming to a boil, and a sweet tooth and perfumed house. Hugged so many times, I lose count. My hands like the ripe money bow in the deep season. My ears a buzz of the genteel morning. No flies on the garage door, no stink flooding the beehives. As I imagine structure and glance at my room from outside with its walls held in place by my nephews with their iPads and imported remotely into a sweet date, and traveled to the front lawn of the masjid crowded by the sermon. Eulogy to Ibrahim, to Ismail, to every heartbreak living on for transcendent ambitions, emancipation cascading into supplication and summer bliss. Sacrifice, Mama said, was something more than loss and erasure, more like faith and all its abridged definitions joined together into a 3 days grace. Next street to the masjid, the municipal squad bathed in the voice, eating Eid sweets, white glory, scooped with tar fingers, and a smile, and no scented starched suit, and no clean shower for the uncle living on the footpath, and no family for the thalassaemic boy in the ward, attentive at every hum of the automatic glass door, or the cry of every uncle passing on in the next cubicle. Sacrifice is something more than slaughter and boxed fists and a tenderness on your fingertips. See, when a frail man strolled out to a dusky knoll with his tulip son and kissed his pink cheek and told him to lie down on a flat rock as like a rosebed with arthritic shivering hands as guillotine, it wasn't the voice behind his ears raging. Maybe it was his weakening eyes or strengthening faith, or maybe the morning was giving way to catastrophe. I'm not going to question desire. Reincarnated, I stand on an altar in front of my house. Nothing is expected of me. The milk vermicelli bowl is ready. My mama's hands baked in sweat and swollen. The only aroma is of pink tea wafting out. The door is now open. I can walk inside and disappear. I can axe down the front door. The only thing I can't is celebrate. So that's it, I guess. Yeah.
Endless snaps always for Zain's poems. They've taught me so much about imagery, sound, and voice. And I'm really grateful to him for being here on his birthday, no less. Thank you so much for your words.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Our next reader is Youngseo Lee, a recent high school graduate from Arizona who is taking a gap year before heading to Princeton University. a 2020 National Young Arts finalist in creative nonfiction and cat lady with no cats of her own. She has work that has appeared or is forthcoming in Entropy, Amory Lellwater Review, and Bitter Fruit Review. Please join me in welcoming Youngseo Lee.
All right, can you guys hear me? All right,
Yep.
awesome. I cage myself in with you, and then I start to die. I untangle the petals strewn in my hair from the grease and the roots. The flowers lost their roots, they lost their roots and their thorns. No thorns, only petals they wove in my hair, only ripped and split and torn. Mother sewed petals into infant cheeks and taught me to paint them blue. She said, sit in the sun until you're baked the glorious yellow of E7C70E, but now I am just pink. I throw the white dress outside our little cage, toss the petals. I tell them to fly, but they can't, so I cry, and you help me pick more out from where pink was cross-stitched to my spine. I turn into a flower myself and tell the leaves I'm here forever. I believe the helium that voiced itself was my sister. Helium whispered through the staticky cracks and the crevices of electricity, scratching against the walls of the ear canal. You can be yellow, you can be yellow. Here's a petal for your ear, here's one for your rib. Look at that pretty cage, look at that pretty cage, look at that pretty cage. Won't you be happy? So I said, yes, that is quite pretty. I would love to be loved and believe I'm not a faded DAD2A7 like mother, though he once smiled at D9C96F. All right, so, sorry, let me get some water. So the second one I wrote after my mom yelled at me. I don't remember what she yelled at me about, but yes. This is a house built on wilted lantanas, of variations of teokbokkeum with bean sprouts tossed like dust in our lungs. Sifting in through window screens from mountains, our tires wore out and out from residual empty threats, built with girls to translate what they cannot understand, words that ring sour, like this is a house whose foundations were raised on a self-diagnosed strain of loudness, and locks never locked, and a dishwasher that won't fucking work. This household refuses to raise strong, independent women, only feeds them, sees grudges in its walls, knows not forgiveness, believes in osmosis like in ghosts after a horror film, nine-tailed fox, spits mushrooms, expecting them to dilute with exoneration. We have no choice but to accept and to give and to recycle and to rot with eggshells and truth to self. We manage to rip off skirts, bursting seams in pink and hems in decades. This household refuses to raise strong, independent women who can hold the world's cheeks in their palms for fear of angry men who could easily spill gochujang from the temporal lobe. I wonder, in the occasion of too loudness and a trigger, which language I will lose first. For fear of makgeolli poured astray on solitary stone, this household does not raise women to wear tie-dye shirts that declare climate change is real, Trump is a hoax, does not raise women to fight in a land that did not ask for them. This household built on my mother's anger and her mother's lower back, and her mother, whose name I have never heard, tiptoes with my sister and I in its arms. We squirm and flop, and this house knows we will spill, knows we will vomit sadness we have been force-fed with osmosis out. Yet it does not raise strong, independent women for fear of the world. Not knowing the world we will yield will have no fear to spill. So this third one is probably my favorite thing that I've ever written because it's for my friends. In the back seat of a Honda Civic, I pray for the yellow roses already mushrooming between my fingers. May flowers grotesque guys in the limits of their own bloom for no reason other than that today the inside of my cheeks are drifting westward. The soul I seek is technical, finds poetry in velocity and a corner in my gums. And I think of it when I stand palms up in a gym shower stall, observing the calluses I might farm, blinking at the times I couldn't explain I don't care enough for monkey bars to endure the technicalities of gravity. My gums are velocitous today, yet I am told the flowers in my hand resembles, except for at heights, where there is room for both my wandering mouth and mushroomed calluses, both stretchers and pull-uppers, shower stalls and disco balls. There no right technicality, but nor is there to farming calluses or praying for this technical soul to fish out the insides of my floating cheeks mid-air and understand its velocity, all the while knowing the futility. Define for me a coroner, and bloom, and gravity, and a Honda flower stall, to indulge in the cruelty of technical bliss. I can believe, when I close my eyes and crack my neck left, the truth will sift itself into clarity, then the world won't stick to the bottom of my knuckles, then all I'll scrape is steam. So parse for me a definition, and if it depends on context, trace for me the boundaries that warp a corpse into a corner, watery monkey bars. Distill for me dependence. Explain to me redshift and molasses and the angle of my tongue when I laugh, I'll understand. But dare tell me that to pray is not to dust one's palms, or to cry, or to lie down in a parking lot, or everything but my search for the crannies of existence where nobody can define the exact type of roses I've hosted, because tomorrow I'll believe that every prayer is a recited meal prep grace and nothing more. I don't believe in defining prayer when futility remains open. My cheeks are twisted. Inertia spits the most knotted of stomachs and graceful of corners, and oh, technical soul, there's nothing to dissect here but flowers. In case it's been missed, buried in the language, have you tried to understand me? Have you wondered why I can only scream dreams? The truth is the murk. I believe in scrambled eggs, which necessitates something to scrape. Define for me cruelty, where it's my turn. Cruelty is the act of asking a potential callus farmer to become a coroner. A rose host looks at dead bodies but does not cut out the kidneys. It is cruel to want me to fit my feelings in the swear jar, and it's cruel of me to expect technicality to sizzle into my jaw. All right. Sunlight is foreign like the ever-warping self I can't seem to keep up with. Maybe yesterday I could have recognized it, but this morning I can't tell if I feel more loved or less. I remember my floating tongue and crawling arms, but not the aftermath. Maybe I messed everything up into place, or I always do. Relocating memories is a sober activity, then somber in the dark with eyes closed. In living, I dismember each thought, sliced before it can sever the ground. Last night, I learned that apparently my hands are soft. My foot is the size of a classmate's hand, and right now I am so very aware of my toenails hanging over their own weight, but don't know how to hem my body, when all it can do is reflect the sunlight I want to sink in. I can't decide how quiet my soul is, whether men's decency silences and or bites me, how easily I should sleep, if at all. The crawling aftermath was not everything I messed up. I want to sink with sunlight like silence can. Yesterday sits easily, bites the ground. I sleep decency and sever hems and or my soul hanging quiet in the dark, closed. I slice thought, each hand aware of last morning and this night. Relocating sunlight, ever warping, always reflects the self, foreign and floating. That now the arms could learn. I can't decide how, whether to keep up. I can't tell if I feel more loved or less, but recognize my weight. I can't seem to remember my tongue. In living, I dismember memories into place, a somber activity, dawn before sober with eyes soft. That's it, and thank you guys so much for arranging this today.
Thank you so much for being here. Youngseo's phrases and powerful lines never fail to astound, and I'm so happy that you are able to read today. I've been a longtime admirer of your work, and I'm just so glad to have gotten to know you in the past 2 weeks. This is crazy, but we're at our last reader. Her name is Stephanie Chang, and she is a Chinese-Canadian poet and rising freshman at the University College London. Her work appears in the Adroit Journal, Kenyon Review, Berkeley Poetry Review, Cosmonauts Avenue, and Diode Poetry Journal, among others. She has been recognized by the National Scholastic Art and Writing Awards, the Adroit Prize for Poetry, Hollins University, and the Poetry Society of the UK. She currently interns for Sign Theta, a creative arts magazine by and for the Sino diaspora. Her micro-chat book, Night Market in Technicolor, is forthcoming from Ghost City Press this summer. Please join me in welcoming Steph.
Yeah, can everyone see?
Yeah,
okay.
You're good.
Yeah, so this first poem is kind of just a very facetious and feminist retelling of the myth of Chang. And I kind of just wanted to try writing it in like a stricter form, so I chose the ghazal. So this is Ghazal for Moon Maiden. Creation opens on a cliffhanger. I hemorrhage. I dress my hymen in alabaster herb and watercress. Welcome this one-woman show. Come now, while the oil's still spilling summer and Hoyi reeks of carnival sweets. The emperor has summoned the good men of our country. My husband the best, and his aim even better. My voice silvering into 1,000 wind chimes. An omen I failed to foresee, as Hoyi hunts a theater of suns, savoring all 9 screams. Was it myth or murder? I mean, suspected manslaughter. What made him do it? Springtime and the emperor strips us of celestial citizenship. I trade silk for silk grass, man the laundry. As housewife, I burn all the tongyun and blacken Hoyi's teeth, perhaps on purpose. One morning, I find a man-made bowstring at the breakfast table. My veins plucked and missing, and now weapons. I promise to be as pure as albumin, whatever beautiful demands of me. But Hoyi shrugs, white noise like taffy on my throat. The way I steal out of the house, men's clothes on, light starved until dawn, my name etched across the skin of the Kunlun Mountains. There I barter my bravery, my womanhood, a sheath of light to coax my body back to heaven. I wander an orange grove until sea foam, spider lily stamen, each drop from the sky in barrels. My name never sweeter as I crush both to elixir. I drink and hunger for a free man's feast. What I dreamt of on the chariot ride home. Hoyi passed out beside a Tsingtao beer, his personal fanfare, his abdomen skewered by an arrow, me counting the weapons, drawing the tide over his body like a blanket. I am tired of loving men while the herring of my heart migrates to sea, a sunk cost. Come autumn, fireworks sound like shrapnel, and I hate rabbits and men. Yeah, and so this next poem is kind of an older poem. I wrote it almost 2 years ago, but I realized that I had never read it out loud. And it's also available at in the Adroit Journal if anyone is interested in reading it again. Sinophonia. On the singing grounds, I press light onto the blade of a guillotine and calcify prayer in the preacher's belly. The earth is so pale when we leave. A girl, her hands sacred, butchering a stolen mango from the breakfast table. Eyelashes snagged on the water's edge. Trademark of our ancestors, she says. You know how they like it. The way she forges dirt around angles of a moving mouth. I circle the lake as vulture, limn the island into loneliness. Soundless as sky drapes gasoline over the horizon, choking out a crooked existence. I language her spine against scaffolding, silk on her cheeks as she scrapes blessing off my tongue, and that night I dreamt of God. I imagined the pastor on his knees and 1,000 sun-stained bodies. Smoke rose from the half-open trees like a shutter. An angel in a kayak. A man glares across a bullet-rained beach, Ecclesiastes spilling from inside his throat. Heaven ready to swallow everything behind the wired fence. And God, his body waiting in the river reeds, grip around white antlers and a voice, all the wrong chords for a hymn. And God knows where the flowers always fall. God eats my false testimony and knives clothes or thighs. No apology, nothing he could possibly do. Yeah, and so this next poem is called Island Theory. Can I move this? I can. Okay. You are not a god. You are not that enlarged self. Indeed, you are not even a whole self, as you now see. From Anne Carson. What I want is nothing left in the world to love, to slit open the pregnant belly of a starfish, to prune in the bath of the past tense, to hold biology's breath, to play God, to say all hurt is necessary hurt, to believe what I say, to worship it. What more could a girl dream of? A mouth to call mine, a mouth angled to swallow a serpent, the garden in its maw. Look at me, don't stop. What could be lovelier than heaven herself? Whose heart do I terrify most? So what you're telling me is that God gives you reasons to hate yourself, not you. So the lighthouse floating above the night market has not once sent its searchlights after you. I waited, I know, better than any patron prisoner. I was born throatless in a fatherless myth. Who authored this tragedy but me? Could you take that kind of technicolor heat, the sea rising to a fault? A body that hoards prayer like a house of heirlooms. A body where you die in every iteration of sick, wake only to count fewer and fewer bones. To live and tell the tale when the world's already in love with shinier things. You and I both know it's what I do best. And yeah, thank you for listening. Yeah.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for Steph, that enjambment and gorgeous form, your delivery. I'm so glad that she was able to join us today. Her poems are so beautiful, and you should definitely check out her chapbook at Ghost City Press when it drops later this summer. That was our last reading, so I'm so grateful for all our readers today and all of you who came out to support. This reading just means so much to me, and without all of you, it definitely wouldn't have been possible. These words will definitely hold me for a long time, and I continue to be so blown away by the talent and heart of fellow young poets. We've got this, we're gonna do amazing. This community has taught me so much, and again, I'm just so grateful that you all were able to share space with me today. Thank you so much.